Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
What's up, friends? Welcome back to the TV Terminal. My name is Adam Vale, senior editor over at thecoalition.com.
My name is Lawrence, a punk with toys on all the social medias, and I just want to say I'm so glad that I can darken the room so you can't see the complete disaster behind me.
But that gives the room character.
No. It is a disaster because I've been doing reviews. So character is, this where you can. Disaster is what you see, or shall I say, what you don't see in the darkness over there.
All right, so don't look in the back, people. Don't look in the back.
Good luck seeing it. That's why.
That's it. Yeah, believe me, I'm always moving things around, but
I brought back so much stuff, and I just went to Joe Fest, so I just brought back so much stuff, and somebody gave me some 3D printed stuff that. Let's just say he was going to send it to me, but I had to pay shipping, and it was going to be $100 to ship because it'd be in 2 boxes. So he's like, "Why don't we just wait to Joe Fest? And I'll drop it off to you." So,
and you did the drive. You did the drive, so you didn't have to worry about packing it up on a plane, or if you did Greyhound. Who does Greyhound anymore? Apparently, some people do.
I've known some people to do that for different conventions. I can't imagine.
I can't. No. But I would.
I can't imagine being on a bus for that long. No. A train, sure.
What I would like, I was just gonna bring that up. I would love to do it on the train, but one of those sleeping trains, like the ones that Amtrak sort of does it, where you could actually bunk and take a trip across country. Would love to do that.
Maybe I'll look into that for Conan, Iowa.
Oh yeah, well
driving myself, just jump.
That's it. We'll pick you up at the train station. Off we go. All right, everybody, here we are. Thanks again for subscribing, following. We're getting close to 700. 700. This is fantastic. We got people every other day. Somebody sends a comment. Oh, that's just cool. Thanks for this and this and that. And boop, they give a sub. That's great, everybody. We really do appreciate it. This is a new channel. We only so far covered one show, right? Mobland.
Oh, no, that's right. No, that's right. That's right. We didn't do Reacher. Reacher was on.
Reacher was on the coalition.
We did too, because you also did.
My brother and I, we did The Last of Us.
Yeah.
But Mobland was the big one. A lot of people that found us is from Mobland, and we know this, so that's great. And obviously now with Murderbot. And we're also, my brother and I are covering Revival, and that's also doing pretty well with this. So this is great. This is all great. Thank you again for the comments that you see. I jump in there. I get at it with everybody because that's what this is about. This just isn't about us regurgitating information about a show that we've already watched. No, this is that build a discussion, build a community. We're getting together. We're sharing ideas and thoughts. And again, this is what Lawrence and I had talked about. This is what we love about TV shows that are week by week. I don't like the binge model. I don't like that because everything's right.
It's great in December and January when it's cold out and you don't want to do anything, right? It's great for you, but I don't think it's good in general for TV shows, for the actors, because when everything gets dropped in one day and you watch 10 episodes, you forget about it. And if it comes back a year and a half later, a lot of times people have forgotten all about it. How people forgot about Cobra Kai, and that was one of the best ones. But when it's done like this, where maybe they drop 2 or 3 episodes on the first day, but then it's week to week, it keeps you coming back for more. And then you can also advertise for other shows. And Taylor Sheridan, it's like everyone's waiting for the next Taylor Sheridan. I would hate if all those dropped.
It would break my heart. It would break my heart. I just finished, speaking of a show that was all binge, and I watched it. I tried to watch it week by week, but it was too tempting because it's all there. Fubar season 2 on Netflix. I had it. So I blame you for this.
Wait, is season 2 out?
Oh yeah, season 2 is out. It's last week or so it dropped.
I have not. I haven't fired up my Netflix in quite some time because when Olivia's here, we're watching Angel and Buffy, and then I started watching.
Still on that?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
started watching Justified. So when I'm doing stuff, I'll turn on Justified. So I haven't even turned on my. I hope one of my kids is watching my Netflix. So I'm paying for nothing.
Right? Somebody should be using it. Somebody
I
should be
really
using
yell
it.
at my kids. Go watch Netflix. So I'm not
Right?
paying for nothing.
We got to get our money's worth. All right, everybody. There you go. That's a little intro. We got a lot of rambling going on, but hey, that's what it's all about. We're here talking about TV. It's all relevant. All right, so this is season 1, episode 8. We're there, man. Only a few more episodes of
Two
Murder
more.
Foreign Object. Oh,
And we don't know what the foreign object is. Maybe while we're talking about it,
yeah.
it'll pop up.
It'll
So
pop.
if you know what the foreign object is, because normally with these shows, the title of it has something to do with something that happens, and I can only think of maybe what with their that one bot, the nav bot, what he
Then-
sticks in her. I don't know. That's something.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, yeah, we'll just get into it because this show starts off within Sanctuary Moon. Man, I want this show. I want Sanctuary
I
Moon.
need to.
There was some people in the comments talking about, I was like, that it was like what 19 seasons. At least the book describes Sanctuary Moon as having 19 seasons. That's a lot, you know.
That's
But
an awful lot.
you know, but then some others would say, you know what, it would be too much content to make, but we would like maybe a holiday special, a Christmas special, you know,
Well,
or something like that.
well, let's think about it. If the Sanctuary Moon is as short as these, they could do it in like 2 weeks.
Yeah. They don't think about it. Most of the scenes take place on the bridge, so it's like they already
Yep.
have the set designed.
Well,
Then
that's
that's
what we've
it.
seen
Yeah.
so far.
Yeah, that's what we've seen. I think there was at one time they were like on the holodeck or maybe other planet where the captain and the Navbot when he was professing his love and all that stuff. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
So weird.
So weird, but hey, you know what? I love my digital devices. So
The craziest thing about this whole Sanctuary Moon is that they got real actors to
Mhm.
portray this little spot.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's awesome, but it's also pretty hilarious when you think
Yeah,
about it.
known actors for it, which is again, that's why I'm thinking they must have some kind of plan
Yeah.
long term. Like, you know what? Let's sprinkle this in and see what happens. Let's see what happens. I mean, they have to know that people are interested in just that aspect of the show of Murderbot. It's like, yeah, I would love Murderbot, but I love this Sanctuary Moon. Let's get some of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, especially like we talk about it in every episode. In fact, I don't know what was the time for this one. The last one was 25 minutes. That was the
23
longest.
minutes. 23 minutes.
It's they're so short.
I was actually the way as long as it went in Sanctuary Moon, I was like, is this gonna be one of those ones where like the whole show is almost this, and then he comes back and that's what he's been watching and what he's been watching that while he's doing something. It didn't turn out that way, but
No. Oh man, but yeah, we'll just get into it. This was interesting. It starts off on in Sanctuary Moon. I guess there was another captain who took over the ship, right? And man,
Coulson. So the guy that
Coulson.
plays Coulson
Mhm.
in Agents of Shield and Coulson on in the MCU.
Okay. Yep. And then he takes over the ship and he's telling the pilot, hey, we're going into what was it, the wormhole, and they're like, no, we can't
Yeah.
go into this. And then they start talking about the captain and man, Navbot, she decapitated him. That was so unexpected.
With a backhand.
Yeah, just like
Just backhand and the head just comes right.
I was like, no, I was expecting for him to come out from like another doorway. It's like, you thought she would actually kill me. She loves me.
We saw the head like roll off.
We show it roll off. Oh man, we're not even a minute into this episode and we're already seeing something like this. And I'll just throw it out there. I mean, we're seeing the death of a main character. It's not a main character for the Murderbot itself, but for Sanctuary Moon, we're accustomed to seeing the captain in these scenes, and it's like poof, like you said, heads off, and that evil captain is bragging about, look, even I got the Navbot over here killing her love interest and all this stuff, but then she snaps and gets up and she just he stabs her and she just crushes his head. She was like, you killed the only human who loved me, and or something to that effect.
And so this is truly a metaphor for what he's going through.
SecUnit.
That he's now He's self-aware. He knows what's going on, and that's what this robot is. He basically reprogrammed her so she wouldn't turn on them, but she ends up doing it anyway. So
She ends up doing it anyway because it's the power of love. There you go. Do you believe? You know, it's like, yeah, shout out to Cher on that one. But man, I wasn't expecting that. And all right. I wonder where it goes from here for Sanctuary Moon. And a shout out again to people out in the chat. I know Tina and a few others that are jumping in. They're big fans of the books and they're going along with the show. Is this further on? Because remember, as I mentioned, someone had mentioned there's 19 seasons of Sanctuary Moon.
well,
With
even
this, I would think the death of the captain, it has to be like, whoa, you're toward the end.
even in this episode, he talks about watching some of his favorite episodes.
Yeah. So what was this episode of? I don't know how many episodes per season, but was this one of the last ones? Because you would think the death of the captain, that's usually the end of a show, unless they introduce
two captains.
The death of two. Well, yeah, the other evil dude, we wanted him to go. You know, his head gets crushed, gets gruesome, like, blah, you know. Oh man, but it's funny while this is happening, you can hear off in the background the rest of the crew and within Murderbot's world talking to him. He's so zoned out. You know what? And this reminds me of Walter Mitty, The Life and Time of Walter Mitty. Did you ever see that movie?
No, I have
It's off the
not.
base of the book. And it was a Ben Stiller movie where he just would zone out and he would put himself in all these situations where he's like the hero or he's an adventurer and all this stuff. And this is what's going on. I mean, we all have done it. We've all done it at some point, whether you're watching something, you're at a conference or something's happening, and then you're thinking of doing something completely different. You are zoned out. You know, that's it. But this is what he's doing. If we had the ability that he does, think if you had that where you can just pull up something like, a favorite movie or a show and just have that running in your mind, clear as day. Right? That sounds awesome. It's like you're just sitting there straight faced and you're just watching something else. But here it is. They're freaking out because they're close to the habitat. And they can tell that there's people there. They can see within the camera systems.
Yeah.
And you called it. There are 3 evil SecUnits.
I thought there were more, wasn't there?
Well, they called out 3. They said 3. Maybe there were more. Maybe it was just the camera
shots. There was 3 more that showed up. I don't know.
Right. But yeah, so they're taking a look and they're asking SecUnit, and he's just, what? Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Oh, okay. What's going on? And then as they're scanning through, they're seeing the whole thing, and then we see, and it looks like it's the boss. It's the boss lady there, right? And they're with a representative of GrayCris. That is the name of this group outfit. But she grabs one of the cameras because this camera's placed here. She was like, I'm assuming you're watching this. And that's something else I mentioned to someone on in the comments. They were like, oh, would they really care? That meaning this evil boss, if Leebeebee had passed, because wasn't she just a freelancer just trying to get her own? But they call her like a crew member, not a crew member. She was like one of their, a colleague. They call her a colleague. So if you refer to someone as a colleague, then you have some form of respect for them. They had a working relationship. You know, maybe they've worked other jobs together. But yeah, so they're willing to look past that. Right. And she says, here's the coordinates. Here's a time, date. Let's meet up. Let's talk. We're going to leave your habitat so you can come back and whatever. But that right there sounded shady. Like when I saw that, I'm thinking it's a trap. Right.
Yes.
It was like, yeah. Right. That
I'd be like, maybe not the smartest thing to do, but then what choice do you have? Right. You need to get off this. You know, you get off this planet, and they've blown up the beacons.
Yeah, that's one thing they acknowledge, that they're the ones that blew up the beacons and all that. And at first we thought it was Leebeebee that set that up, because she sort of hinted that in the prior episode about setting things up and when timing. But I guess is that she knew that they were watching the situation and that they were going to address it and make the whole thing go boom and all that. You know, but this is the only question I have with this is, how did she know? This is the representative, the boss lady from for GrayCris, that the crew were heading back, and why they were heading back. Like, we know they're heading back because of Gurathin's injury and that they need.
Well, if there's a SecUnit that there's a sec unit that can tap in the same way that he is and can relay this to her.
Guess. But if that's the case, then they can pinpoint their location. Why even bother checking the habitat? Just go directly to where they are. It's like, oh, they're up on the hill. It's like
Reacher swam across the lake. Okay.
Reacher's special. Shout out to Reacher. There is a season 4 coming. I'm looking forward to that. You know what's funny? I don't want to drift too far off, but you brought it up. That they bring up Reacher. I'm not going to dwell on this woman because I can go off and off on that. But
Yes,
man,
you
Aquaman over here, Aquaman. But
And he did play Aquaman, so I guess it does.
yeah, it does work. But so season 4 is already being filmed. But what happened to the spinoff? The spinoff was already announced and said that it was going to drop, and I haven't heard anything from that. Just season 4 is being filmed. I know that they're 2 different projects, but you would think they would have already had the spinoff ready, canned, going into post, and then let's announce 4, because I doubt we're going to get the spinoff and season 4 dropped at the same time. That's killing your IP right there. No, they would. That's no way you do that.
I would assume that one's going to come out, and then as soon as that one ends, it leads right into Reacher. That's a smart play, right?
Yeah, you would think. But all right, there goes that. But yeah, so right here, this is where, and then Rathy starts talking about, hey, how about this? I'll just get some bigger guns. SecUnit, you come with me. We did a great job before. They do this really fast.
I love that because they did stuff, but it was very ineffective.
Yeah, and it's you're not doing any favors. Because SecUnit, I'm sure, while we're seeing the replay, but I'm sure in his mind he's also seeing the replay. And he's like, yeah, that didn't go well. You didn't really help. If anything, you put yourselves in danger. And remember, he is the SecUnit. He's there to protect them. So that didn't go over. And he's like, no, don't worry about it. I'll go down there. I'll take a look, and I'll let you know if it's clear. Now, did you think anything crazy was going to happen? Because I was really expecting that once he gets them, at least one SecUnit was gonna stay back.
No, I didn't, because we saw, like, I'll say it again. I believe the beginning of the episode where we see all these black SecUnits coming down. I think we're going to get that scene, and we're this is the third from the last episode. That's not what you do. This happens normally at the end of next episode, right? So this way you have the big culmination on with the last episode. So that's my guess. So I really didn't think anything like that. He was too busy being aggravated with them, which I think is hilarious because I'm kind of aggravated with them.
Yeah. It's just too much going on with all this. He's frustrated, and it's just his approach to all this. And then so once he gets in there's nothing going on. They're not there. But then in his head, he's wondering. He's like, well, he understands why they want the crew. They want to get information for whatever, maybe the alien artifacts and stuff like that they found. But what he can't figure out is, why did they kill the Deltfall? Why did they kill everybody there? Like, what was the reasoning behind that?
That's a great question.
Yeah, because there was no reason for it. If anything, just interrogate, unless I'm sure we'll probably find out. I think that's where the last episode is going to jump in, right? I mean, because they don't think, if you think about it, they could just brush it off and be like, "Hey, we got a new story here. The survival of this crew."
But I do feel like they've done a pretty good job of filling in the blanks. We'll go back to Reacher. There's still things we did not find out. And I don't remember offhand right now what they were, but there were things that we didn't figure out, and they just kind of. They just let it go. Like, hey, you know what? We thought this was going to be more of a plot. We didn't fill it. We'll just let it go.
Yeah. But and I think that, and just like this one, Reacher is based off of novels. And so there's always more context in the books. There's only so much that you can represent in film, and you're going to leave some things out. But yeah, there was a lot that it's like certain characters, like, wait, where did he go? How did is he okay? Did he make it? Did this? Yeah, we weren't sure. But and to their credit, at least when it comes to Murderbot, we didn't meet any of the characters from that other unit from Deltfall. So we don't know anything really about it. So who knows? Maybe they will go back to it. I'm sure, if anything, the boss may bring it up next time they encounter the the group and figure out what's going on. But he says everything is clear. All right, they can head in. All right, we got Gurathin. He
Now
jumps in.
yep. And all this happens before the opening. Then the opening starts. We see the same thing we've seen, and then we come back to Gareth, he's pretty much dying, right?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. He's bled out. We don't know if he has an infection, but he's been moved around a lot with everything going on, and I'm sure it didn't help fighting those bugs, those monsters before in the last episode. Who knows what kind of bacteria they're carrying? Right?
Yeah,
squirting everywhere and getting my wounds. Like, oh no, look, now I have a growth. It's like this is happening. I'm mutating. But hey, isn't that what he wants? That's why he has augmentations. He's all about becoming a next level. But anyway, they lay him down, and he doesn't want painkillers. He was like, yeah, no, I want to just do this because B is going to do the surgery, and she's been doing all the work. Murderbot is quick to point out she's not a real doctor, at least not of that type, But hey,
you're a chiropractor.
Yeah, she could be. She could be. Shout out to the chiropractors. That's a whole other thing. I'm sure you said it. You know what I'm getting. A lot of doctors are like, no. I remember doctors. I was like, hey, my back hurts. I know a chiro. I didn't even finish the rest of it. Okay. And he was like, shut it down. Shut it down.
Technically, they say dentists aren't doctors either. And I'm like, well, they may not be doctors, but maybe you guys should find someone to get my insurance to cover up my teeth. When I need something done.
Back in the day, a barber was also a dentist. That's why they had their shares and little drawers at the bottom and stuff. It's like, hey, you can get a shave and they can pop out a tooth that's aching you at the same time.
Really?
So, yeah. Look it up. That was a thing. If you went back in the day in the 1800s stuff, if you went to a barber, you could also have them pull a tooth out. That was also part of the service. Yep.
No, thank
you.
All
right. So Gurathin is there. He's like, no, I don't want to do this. And then he's like, hold me down. And you're like, what do you mean?
He was also saying, just go. Just leave me. And this, again, no man left behind. I fully understand. But Spock also says the needs of the few outweigh the needs of the many, right? And but they're like, no, we're gonna stay. And the whole time, the SecUnit is like, every time they say something like that, he's just like, you guys are stupid.
Yeah, I mean, he's not fond of this guy anyway, so he's
not.
He doesn't care.
That thing is awesome that he has a disdain for this guy.
Oh yeah, he does.
And a real disdain.
Yeah. So his whole thing is he's going to go into his mind and just, I guess, calm him down, turn some sensors off.
He's the augments. He's gonna turn off the sensor that feels pain. Yeah,
the sensor feels pain, but he also turns off his sight because that was the other thing. I can't see anything, so he turns that off.
Yeah,
and so while that whole thing's going on, Murderbot makes it seem like he has upper hand. He was like, "I'm gonna go and probe in his mind now. He was in my head. Now let's see what he's hiding." And what was it that he was saying? Love me too, or something. I wrote this down.
Why can't you love me too?
That's it. Why can't you love me too? Why can't
But he wasn't saying it. He wasn't saying it.
Nope, SecUnit was saying it.
Yeah, but I mean, SecUnit was saying it, but he wasn't saying it. It was coming through
from the memory.
Yeah.
It was coming through the Gurathin's memory. At least that's what I got from it, right? It was like it was a memory that he had tapped in, one of Gurathin's memories.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that's to Mensa, right?
Well, they showed Mensa in it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But we never saw that scene. So that's what I'm saying. It's not like, this is a continuation from when they were playing that game. I can't believe I'm forgetting on it. We kept talking about it for a post show. Was it Bitter and Sweet or Sweet and Bitter? I think it was Sweet and Bitter.
I don't remember.
Yeah, it was something like that. Sweet and Bitter. I think that's the name of it. But he's really into her. And somebody also mentioned, they were bringing up in the comments, like, well, she's a catch. She's super smart and all that. And there's no doubt. It's like, I get it.
She has a whole bunch of kids, so she puts
but that's what, well, there you go. But to tie that in, she has a bunch of life partners. She had brought that up. Remember when
isn't that a reason not to?
That's what I'm saying. And it was like, I'm not doubting that she's a catch. Clearly she is, but she's already a catch for many others. She's got multiple life partners,
Or
multiple
maybe that's what you
children.
like. Then you don't have to be with them all the time.
I get it's a lot. How are you going to spread yourself I mean, then again, she's going on these expeditions. How long
And
is this expedition
and
supposed to
she's
be?
just dumping the kids with the fathers, just
The
like,
fathers, the
you know,
mothers,
typical woman.
other AI bots. Who knows? Maybe she's married to her own. No, I was gonna say a SecUnit, but no, I don't think they went that far because
No,
they talked about they never
they're
had a
not
SecUnit. Yep,
anatomically correct.
yep, that is true. That is true. Hey, man, you just love them for who they are, their hearts. But anyway, so
Until they
he's
chop your head off with a
right.
backhand.
They chop your head. What a backhand! No thought. Don't even have to pay attention. You pissed them off. It was like I didn't like your cooking. It's off with your head.
Oh,
So yeah, he picks into his brain. So he starts reciting that one line. They're like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Oh, nothing." But the second unit starts noticing something going on in his head.
yeah.
And he's like, "Wait, what's happening? What's happening?" And it's Gurathin's picking his brain, and he got through his barriers and was able to see that memory that we only see flashbacks of, which is of the sec unit's perspective of just hosing down people, just
Yeah.
shooting a bunch of people. And Gurathin just sees this and starts spouting something off. He's a murder bot, murder. And it's like, what? Who's a murder bot? And he sec unit quickly disconnects. It's like, no, we got to get out. No, he's delusional. Unplugs, but it's too late. He says, hey, I saw him. I saw the memories. He killed 57 miners, and they were just in shock.
He calls himself Murderbot.
He calls himself Murderbot. This would have been great just to splash that up on the screen. Dun, 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 Murderbot.
This is something you told me because at the beginning you were like, yeah, someone made a comment and they were like, no, he calls himself Murderbot. No one else does.
Yeah, they said at some point in some of the books that he does tell certain people.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Again, leave in the comments is if this how the crew eventually discovered that was his name, that he didn't tell them that it was through this method. Because I mean, that would be a little startling if I'm with the sec unit and then this whole thing happens. Like, hey, he calls himself Murderbot and he killed 57 people, and it was like, is
but
this
he's the
true?
only person that can defend you. So
exactly. And Mentor's like, is this true? And he's like, well, yeah, no, yes, I call myself Murderbot, but not because of the 57 I killed. Maybe I did that. Maybe I didn't. I don't know.
Yeah, he really goes into like we don't even know if that's what happened. He has a makeshift bridge. There's also they made some other stuff for him too, so I forget what it is.
Yeah, Mel, remember he was a refurb, so
Yes.
That part could be from a part of another sec unit who did go through all that.
Yeah, I don't think he did this. I don't think he murdered anyone, and that's going to be like,
that could be the overarching backstory. Did he or didn't he? One of those, and then many seasons later, then we find out they examine his head, and then we trace down the original sec unit that did go crazy and just start shooting everyone. But it's to flip it on the other side. We do remember when the episode 1 when we're introduced to him and he hacked his system and how they were making him do dumb things like burn his hand and all that stuff. That he was already frustrated with them. He did not like these guys at all. So it's very possible.
Which I think is funny.
Yeah, it's funny. And that's the thing. He has his own dark humor, but that's what I think it is. I think it's dark humor. I don't think he's really his intent to. He always talks about it. It's like, oh, I could kill them all. And we even saw funny little flash scenes of him killing everybody. But he doesn't do it. He doesn't act out on this.
Nope.
So they have this whole issue with this, and sec unit leaves. They didn't really go into it unless I missed that. Did he choose to leave? Because usually he says I have to go for a walk or I have to do something.
He chose to go for a walk.
He just left, right? They just left. Because what I have in my notes here is now the crew is just figuring out what to do. They're like, they don't trust them. They're going nuts.
Yeah, well, they gotta do something soon.
Yeah, because what was it? Arata, she's freaking out. She's like, I can't believe this. What are we gonna do? You know, and they're just trying to, and she's dealing with this with Pen Lee, but then Rothy comes in. This was an interesting part, but it's sort of fitting because we've seen this relationship first get created in the first episode, wasn't it? Right when they announced that they were in a three-way
Yeah,
relationship.
they didn't call it a throuple.
Yeah, they ain't called
They
that,
did
but
call it something here, and it gets really, really intense.
yeah, they were doing something, but he just says it. He was like, this isn't fair for everyone in this relationship, and
Well,
I need.
he says if they don't know what's going to happen, we need to be honest. And if I'm falling in love with someone, I need to, if I'm falling for someone more than the other, I need to let you guys know. And Arata was expecting it to be her, and it was
Mhm.
I'm falling in love with you, Pin Lee. And Arata gets jealous.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because I was like, the words, I was like, "Wait, are you sure? Are you sure?" And apparently, like, "What do you mean? Is he
But if
sure?"
you
What?
remember at the beginning, Arata had a thing for him. He had a thing for Pin Lee, and
Mhm.
Pin Lee had a thing for Arata, even though they were already together.
So it makes it seem that Penley was trying to make Arata happy by
Yes.
bringing Rathy into the fold,
Yes.
and to see that the tables have turned now, and that he's more interested in Penley than Arata, then she's shocked by it because that wasn't what she wanted. So it's very interesting to see how this whole thing is playing out because we saw it at the creation, and now I guess we're seeing it at the demise. And I mean, where does this really go? Is this just for comic relief? I don't think it's gonna impact the show in any way, right?
I
What?
I think that it's done because it explains the society that they're living in.
Uh-huh.
It's to me, this is. I always say whenever it comes to a TV show or like a TV show, a movie, I don't care if I don't like them shoehorning in a gay couple or someone who's transgender. I, I want to know how it progresses the story. For me, I think this progresses the story because this is not our society. This is not
Uh-huh.
this is not Earth. This is something completely different, and this is how they live. Like this is a well known thing that happens. At least that's how I'm gathering it. The same way how Mensa, like how she is, right, where she has multiple life partners, but no one, it's not like oh my god, that's just who it's how their society is. So I feel like something like this is really progressing, just giving us an idea of how it's working. But it's also seeing how they react and how they are, right?
Uh-huh.
Ravi he's useless, right? He's like the only person that can't use a gun because he didn't bother paying attention. Yet when you look at him, other than the sect unit, he's really the most physically imposing person. He's a very good looking guy. He looks like he's in great shape. But he is the one that doesn't understand how to do anything.
I forgot. I think was he the bioengineer? I forgot his
I
actual
forget what he was.
job title because it was mentioned in the first episode.
Yeah, I forget what he
But
was.
yeah, but if anything, he's the only one. Well, from the beginning, he's always been on the side of SecUnit. You remember trying to be his
He
friend, be
really
cool.
likes
Even
being
this one, he's like, "Hey, we
well,
could be buddies. I'm gonna have a big gun. We're gonna go in there, guns blazing, take
but
all these."
he also gets yelled at. Mensa yells at him like he's stop trying to be his friend.
Yeah,
He's not
yeah,
your friend,
yeah,
right? Something
yeah,
like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. Yeah.
But he really has this idolization of him.
Uh-huh. Yeah. But
So
with the question now with this whole thing is that relationship over with Penley and Arata? But I don't know the way
well,
Penley was acting from it. It doesn't seem like she feels the same. I don't think she really cares. Like we discussed, we think that she only agreed to bring
I
Rathy in to help to make Arata happy. So if this is the case, he's like, "Oh, I want out." She's like, "All right, fine. I'll just stick with Arata. We'll just do our thing." But maybe Arata might be pissed.
and yeah, that's the biggest thing. Rada, and now Rada's upset that he's in love with Pin Lee, not her. And we know how well that type of stuff goes,
Oh
right?
no, right? This is it, right? I think I've seen a few episodes of Friends. I think I know these type of things never work out, right? You gotta.
We were on a break.
That's it. We're on a break. Yep. Anything could happen on a
And
break.
Ross was right. They were on a break.
They were on a break.
All right.
You
I'm
know,
sorry.
yeah.
I don't care what anyone says.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she broke up with him.
And they were
Just
on a
remember
break.
that.
I'm telling you, that could be a whole other show. In fact, there's plenty of shows out there where people are just discussing all the happenings in Friends. There was so much drama in there. So much drama. But yeah. So speaking of all the drama, we got SecUnit now. We see from his perspective, he's out there going on a walk. He's upset. He's trying to find a show
He's
to just
weird.
yeah, this is all this is happening. He doesn't know how to handle it. His way of trying to calm the situation is always to just replay shows in his head, but he can't find the right one. And then he's
he's trying to find some of his favorite shows from.
mm-hmm.
But then he switches to another show, right?
Does he?
Oh no.
No.
Oh no, I know.
It was during the surgery
That's during the
where
surgery
because Mensa made that joke when he was like, "Yeah, I can go in and do it," and she was like, "Did you see this on Sanctuary Moon?" And he's like, "No, I didn't see it." And in his head, he's like, "It was another show that he saw," but that show said that they were all based off of real events, so it should work.
And,
But he didn't say that.
I forget the name of it, but the name of it sounded like a medical show.
Yeah, it's like ER, The Pit. Oh man, The Pit. What a good show. That was another good show that came out.
I don't remember that one.
That was new. That is so the people that are the main actor that was also in ER is playing a doctor, different doctor. Basically, HBO Max, they don't have the rights to call it ER. So they called it The Pit, but it's pretty much the same premise of an ER over in Pittsburgh. And just within, I forgot how many episodes it was, maybe like 10 or something like that. But every episode is an hour of the day, like 24, and all this stuff is happening in real time. So it's fast paced, really good show.
Well, do you remember the TV show Trapper John?
No.
There was a show called Trapper John. And if I am correct, the actor that played in Trapper John played Trapper John on MASH, but it was not the same character, not even in the same universe.
Just the same name.
And I think it was the same actor that played it.
Why would they do that? That's confusing.
Yeah.
I mean, even this.
Or someone
can look up. Oh, so go ahead. Yeah, people, if you know these answers to these side questions of discussions that we have about TV shows, because we watch a lot of TV shows. Go ahead. Yeah, chime in. Yeah, if you're in the same age, you know what's going on. But yeah, with The Pit, that was the thing. I remember when I saw the ads for it, and I saw this doctor. It's blanking on me now because I have all my Murderbot notes in front of me. But it's the same actor from ER. I was like, oh, this is just an ER reboot or continuation. I'm like, no. But he's still a doctor. Yeah, he's a different doctor now.
See
yeah, but he's in an ER. Yeah, it's a different ER. It's like it's a different location. Oh, you're tricking me.
When they look the same, it doesn't help. I never watched the Commish, but the Commish was the same guy they got to play Vic Mackey in The Shield. But the Commish, he had he had hair.
That wasn't a spinoff?
No.
See, there you go. I remember seeing that, and I'm like, oh, they did a spinoff.
Nope. Not even close.
Not even close. Here we go. But speaking of new scripts and ideas, Murderbot has one. Because he was like, why am I focusing on other shows? I'll just make my own show.
Yes, I love this.
Murderbot and the hippie clients. Right? That's what he called it.
Yeah. And he's talking about basically just murdering them all.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, that's what I'll do. That's it. And he shows up at the base. I'm like, is this? I know. There's no way. This is not when he turns it on. It's like, you know what? I don't need you guys. I'm going to write my own show. I'm just going to kill you all, and I'm going to sell this script and this and go to Hollywood or wherever, Spacewood, wherever it's at. No, it doesn't happen like that. He says what we just mentioned. That would be crazy if it did. But he mentions this, and then he shows up, doors open, and he says, I have a plan. And they all look at him like,
was it just me, or did they seem shocked that he was able to get back in?
I think they were shocked that he returned, but also they're a little bit fearful because of Yeah, because I mean now quote unquote the secret's out, that he's Murderbot, that he calls himself Murderbot. So maybe they don't know if that turned on in his head and he's like, you know what? I'm a Murderbot. I'm gonna just maul you all down now. No. And anyone watching
Oh,
this show shouldn't assume that that's ever gonna happen. That doesn't make sense.
no. So yeah, so he basically shows up and says, "I have a plan," and that was it.
And that was it. Action packed 23. It's too short. I hate the fact it's so short. As I'm writing this down, and we saw that, and then it just ends. I was like, man,
For
this
what
feels.
we're doing, the short episodes kind of make it difficult because there's only so much to talk about. We're like Mobland and Reacher. There was a lot of in-depth stuff.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot of stuff going on in this.
Yeah.
From
It's
Sanctuary Moon to how he's acting. I think they did a really good job of showing the conflict that some of the people are having. Rothi doesn't seem to have an issue,
yeah.
but the other ones do.
Man, it's interesting to see where they go with this.
Yeah.
What's gonna happen now? I'm assuming because he has a plan. What is that plan? I'm really drawing a blank. People in the comments, go ahead, think whatever your plan, because I don't think it's what we would think of, like, oh, he's just gonna go and guns and blazing. I don't think that's not gonna work. He's outnumbered. He know that can't happen.
No, even one of those bots is more advanced.
Oh
than
yeah,
him.
it's too much. It's too much for him. It's not gonna work. So baby Mensa does go down to final, because he even says it. He says and I don't know if we brought it up, maybe we didn't, but as we all know, it was mentioned in the show. He knows why that group wants Mensa and this crew, because
Yeah.
of the information that they know about the alien artifacts or relics that are on that planet. It's illegal to go through the process of scavenging or whatever and then selling it. But obviously, these people don't care. That's what their goal, and they know that this group knows where those things are on that
Yeah,
planet.
and the other group is saying like, "Hey, we need to work together."
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
which I don't think it turns out that way, but
No, because then they're just gonna shoot him. They're gonna kill him after the fact.
yeah.
So maybe SecUnit calls for backup. Maybe he says, "Hey, let's call the corporation. Let's get
I
them
don't think you
involved."
can. The beacon, they need
Oh, the beacon is
Yeah.
gone. Yeah, they're cut
Yeah.
off.
They need the beacon. Although he can still watch Sanctuary Moon.
Or what if no, they can't do that. I was gonna say go back to Delphtfall and try to fix up the other sec units that were damaged inside, not the one that the Hopper
Yeah.
smashed, but try to reprogram the other ones to build like his own little hit squad.
You never know.
Either way, there's gonna be some kind of conflict. It's
Yeah.
gonna end in some. I mean, we've seen in every episode something has happened. In this one, it was the captain from Sanctuary Moon getting decapitated. RIP. That was a shocker. But yeah, either way, it was good. I'm enjoying this show. I'm upset it's so short.
Yeah, me too.
But hey, it is what it is. I think I have to look this up, and I'll put a post if I find out real numbers, because it's hard with these type of online streaming shows. Not like on cable when we get the Nielsen and all that. We don't really know much until these streamers provide information on these numbers. Like even when Mobland, when they announced it got renewed, they said, hey, they had 26 million views. I was like, is this across the board? I'm assuming it's the entirety of all the episodes, but we
For
don't
me,
get a breakdown.
as much as I would like it to come back, because I am enjoying it, as long as they wrap up season 1 with no real major cliffhangers that I have to wonder the rest of my life if they end up canceling it. So
For this one?
yeah,
For
but I
don't worry.
know that this is a highly watched show because I've heard them talk about it during like commercial breaks on Dan Patrick's show, and they would go through the number one viewed. They go to the top 10 uh,
shows out. Yeah, yeah.
shows on streaming services. So and this ended up being on a lot of them, like up there with like at least 1 through 5.
Well, it's good. It's good. It's a good show, and it's one
Yeah.
of those where we talked about it. It's like people that don't know the source material, that when they hear Murderbot, they probably think it's super violent and it's something, oh, I don't need that in my life. Crazy AI going rogue or something. I seen Terminator. It's like, no, it's not like
Yeah,
that at all.
exactly.
It's not like that at all. But yeah, it's good. So I'm assuming, and I was just going to bring this up. If let's say it does get canceled or not renewed, they won't cancel it because it's already running. It was like, hey, we're not coming back.
Yeah.
Don't worry, just read the second book. Go to your library, get the audio book, and then see how it plays out there. Somebody in the comments, just let me know. I don't know if this was brought up. Like we talked about this with Reacher. Each book, each novel had a beginning and an end, and it went into a different story. They were their own individual stories. Is that the same for Murderbot? Or
interesting to find out.
Yeah, is it each book has its own story to tell, like what's going on here with this planet and with GrayCris, and that ends, and then the next book goes into something else, or is this one continuous story? Is this whole crew sticking with Murderbot for the entirety of the series? That I don't know.
We'll find out soon.
We'll find out soon. So there you go, people. We're all done. See, it was quick and easy. There you go. Maybe on your drive or you're at work and you're pulling a Murderbot right now. It's like your boss is yapping to you about something and you got your headset like, yeah, call, and you're hearing two jabronis talk about this show that you just watched. It could be something like that. Right? That was it. But yeah, there we go. And we will be back for episode 9 next week. And also, yeah, man, we're coming to the end. And then after that, also revival. You'll probably see this before that. We got episode 3. If you haven't checked that out, still in the same vein with the sci-fi, touch of horror in it. It's a little creepy, but very different. Very different with the premise of how things pan out with that show. But it's cool, and that's another one that's been picking up steam. I've seen a lot of people, because here's the thing with that, and I just want to mention it now. Yes, it premieres on Sci-Fi, but then the following week it's on Peacock. And nowadays, a lot of people just have streaming services. So they're like, yeah, I got Peacock. Well, then if you have that, you'll see it. And sure enough, and it's a week behind. So when episode 2 was airing, I opened up my Peacock app and splash screen right in front, it said Revival, and it was episode 1. And I know that happened because then afterwards, I took a look at just our views and stuff like that. It jumped by like 150. So that tells me that people are just finding that show on Peacock as opposed to Sci-Fi.
Yep.
It's a change of the times, this is how it is. Everybody back in the day had cable and flick through channels.
It's hard for us to keep up as old people, and like we got other things going on, and so
there we go. That's it. And that's what's going on. And then we got some other shows that we'll pan out and bring up as we get closer to them. I'm trying to close down another one before I mention it, just to confirm it. But and then we'll just sprinkle that all in here. But thanks again, everybody, again, for the comments, for the subs, the shares. That's another one. I had somebody who's like, I'm sharing with my friends. They're like, no one's talking about this show, but I found you guys. You're talking about it. Thank you. And that was great. That's a great one. So thanks to you as well. And we'll see you guys next week, everybody.
All right.
Peace.
Take care.